Once you've downloaded all your images from the Google Slides, you're going to open Photoshop and click Open. Once the Photoshop program opens, navigate to your Downloads folder in the Finder, and then you're going to select all of these slides. So you're going to click on the first one to highlight it, hold the Shift key down, and click on the bottom one to select all of your images. And remember, you want these to all be numerical, and it will do that when it downloads. Your first slide might end up a little bit at the bottom, but we'll be able to control where it goes. You're going to click Open, and what you'll see is across the top here are all of your slides. You're not going to be able to see all of them, but you will if you click this sort of arrow that's pointing to the right. And if you select that, you'll be able to see all of your images. So here's my first image, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way down to 13 for a total of 14. Now I need to turn on some windows in Photoshop. I'm going to go up to the Window menu. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to go down here to the Tools. And that's my little toolbar there that's usually in Photoshop. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to select Timeline. Most of you have probably never used this before, but this is the animation feature that is part of Photoshop. It's actually pretty amazing. It has a timeline option, but we're going to create a frame animation. Later on, depending on what you like to work in, you could use the timeline feature, or you could use the frame animations. However, that's not the slide I actually want, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go over to this arrow here, and I'm going to select the bottom one. And when I do that, I'm going to say Create Frame Animation, and now we have this first slide right here. Now, this is a little bit important. We're going to go up to the Window menu again, and we're going to turn on, just click the Layers window. The Layers window will appear here. We're going to be working with layers quite a bit. If you think of a layer is like pages in a book. So here we have our first layer. Now I could start the frame animation now, but I'm actually going to hold off on it. Once I have my first layer open, I'm going to use a shortcut, which is Select All. That's Command A. You'll also see Select under the selection tool. Select All is Command A. So you could do it with the menus here, or you could do the shortcut on your keyboard, Command A. That's on a Mac. On a PC, it will be Control A. Now I'm going to say Command C or Edit Copy, and I'm going to say File New. When you do this in Photoshop, it remembers the last thing that you copied. 72 pixels per inch is fine for this. This is going to be kind of a small GIF, so we're going to hit Create. Now you'll see that there's a background layer. So it's made a new file for me, and there's a background layer. Now I'm going to type in Command V, and that means paste. You can also go here and go down to paste, and it will paste the first layer onto this document. And you'll see that when you copy and paste something, it makes a new layer. I'm going to do this for all of my slides. So I'm going to select the next one. If I click the arrow, here's this slide. As I do them, I'm just going to delete them. It's going to ask me if I want to save anything, and I'm just going to say don't save. What I want is this untitled file. That's going to be the main file that I'm going to be working with. Next, I'm going to go to the arrow, and I'm going to click number 1. And when I do that, it'll bring me to number 1, and I'm going to say Select All, Edit, Copy, and I'm going to go over to that arrow again, go back to my untitled Photoshop document, and I'm going to say Edit, Paste. And you'll see then that the next layer has this second slide. You'll see that there's little eyeballs here. If I uncheck the eyeball, you'll see the first slide. If I check the eyeball, you'll see the second slide. These layers can also be moved, so be careful when you're working with it. This background layer, I'm going to unlock it and I'm just going to drag that down to the trash because I don't really need it. Remember that I said that layers are like a book. So our first layer is the first page, our second layer is the second page of the book. I'm going to continue to do this for all of my slides. I'm going to click number 1 that I just did, and I'm going to exit out because I don't want it anymore because I already have it on my slide. I'm going to say don't save, and now I'm going to go to number 2. The shortcut is Command A or Control A for select all, Command C or Control C on a PC for copy. Then I'm going to go over here and go down to my untitled slide, and I'm going to say Command V. And when I do that, you'll see that the third layer, and I want to make sure that it's above number 2, shows up. And now if I take off my eyeballs, I have nothing. I have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now I'm going to do that for the rest of them. Always make sure the most recent layer is selected because whenever copies and pastes, it will always go above the selected layer. So you might notice now that I have gotten through enough of them that I no longer have to use the little arrow there. Okay, so now on my right, I have all 14 layers here. So now I'm going to say create frame animation. We're going to turn off all of the eyeballs because we can turn these layers on and off. And we want to do that because when we go to make our animation, we want to make sure that each frame has the correct image on it. So you'll see here that this frame currently has the layer that is turned on with the eyeball on. So then I'm going to go here to the little plus button and I'm going to click the plus button. It will make a duplicate of what's already there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that off and turn the other one on. And then I'm going to click the plus button and I'm going to turn that one off. I'm going to turn number 3 on. And I'm going to do that across all of my frames. And now you'll see I have 14 frames, and you can see in each frame, if I toggle back and forth between these, you can sort of see what it would look like. Now if I start here in the first frame and I play the animation, you'll notice that the forever is selected here. And if you set it to forever, then it gives you a really accurate idea of what the GIF would look like because a GIF runs forever. And that works fine for me. I think that works pretty well. So I'm going to now stop the animation. And there are other things here on this timeline that we'll get into a little bit later. So I'm going to select the last slide and I'm going to make my GIF. So I'm going to go up to File and I'm going to go to Export and I'm going to say Save for Web. When you're making a movie, we will not be an MOV file. We will not be saving to web. This is something specifically for GIFs. So we're going to go to Save for Web. GIFs are low resolution. It also gives you kind of the colors that will be in it and so forth. We're just going to click Save. You'll notice that the file extension is GIF, and that's very important. .gif. Leave all of the formatting stuff alone. Go ahead, give it a title, but do not delete anything past the .gif. Do never delete file extensions. So we can just change the name here, and I'm just going to call this Modern Dots. Now I'm going to click Save. I've selected where I'm saving it to, and when I go to open that GIF, so let's say I open a browser and I click a new browser tab, I can actually test this GIF out by going to File, Open File, and navigating to where that GIF is. And this will actually just open it up in the browser. A .gif extension tells the browser that this is something you want to just play over and over and over again. That's what a GIF is. It stands for Graphic Interlace Format. So we're going to be working a little bit with GIFs in different ways. So that's how you make a GIF in Photoshop.